After arriving in Milano, we began our journey through northern Italy. Our first stop was Lake Garda, followed by a drive through the Garda Mountains of the Italian Alps and across the Veneto to Venice. From Venice, we drove through the Emilia-Romagna region of the Po Valley to Bologna, followed by a drive through the Apennines to Cortona. From Cortona, we drove to Tuscany to Cinque Terre on the Ligurian coast. From Cinque Terre, we drove through the Maritime Alps and north through Lombardia back to Milano. After arriving in Milano, we wanted to decompress before going too far, so we chose Lake Garda to overnight and catch our breath before heading off to Venice. Lago di Garda is the largest lake in Italy, surrounded by stunning mountains and charming villages. It was a fantastic way to start our holiday. We couldn't imagine our trip to Italy without a visit to Venice. We stayed in an amazing spot located right on a canal in the Cannaregio neighborhood and gave ourselves 2 days for exploring Venice. We arrived in early evening, so there was just enough time to have a bite to eat and walk around our sestiere. On our first full day, we visited Piazza San Marco and had lunch at Cafe Florian, the oldest coffee house in continuous operation in Italy. After lunch, we saw some architectural jewels by famous Venetian architect Carlo Scarpa, the Olivetti Museum, and the ground floor and courtyard of the Fondazione Carni Stampaglia. Scarpa was commissioned to renovate the ground floor in the mid-1900s in anticipation of future flooding. Essentially, it has been designed to let the water come right in. We finished the day with a spritz in the Rialto market. It was fascinating to see how the city functions. Everything was delivered and picked up by boat. We passed by a market and walked along the canals in search of a place for breakfast. We found a sunny courtyard and had a coffee and pastry before getting on a boat to the island of Burano. Burano is a small fishing village known for its colorful houses and tradition of lace making. It was very quaint and super cute. Heading back to Venice, we stopped by the gondola shipyard, found a place to have a spritz, and then enjoyed the Vaporetto ride back to our place. We wanted to include a stop in Bologna, given its reputation as the birthplace of some of Italy's most beloved foods. We met our host, Katerina, who welcomed us to her lovely home in the University District, and she also made some great recommendations for our stay. We really enjoyed the scale of the city and had a great time eating and exploring. We left the province of Emilia-Romagna and traveled through the Apennine Mountains and into Tuscany with a final destination of Cortona. It was a fabulous scenic drive with a surprise hotspot at the Passo della Raticosa. Welcome to Cortona. This is one of the oldest villages in Italy with a history that dates back over 2,000 years. It is a beautiful hilltop town in Tuscany, close to the Umbrian border, with a very rich history of its own. We selected Cortona as a home base and spent the next 12 days exploring other hilltop towns in the region. Our family from Denmark joined us for a week, which made this part of the trip extra special. We could see a hill town in the distance across the valley from our window. When we discovered it was Montepulciano, we decided to make this our first stop. This beautiful medieval town is full of Renaissance palaces, ancient churches, and charming squares. It is surrounded by vineyards and considered to be one of the finest winemaking regions in the world. From these vineyards, one of the most prestigious red wines in Italy are produced. Vino Nobile di Montepulciano is a historic wine made from primarily Sangiovese and is often called the King of Tuscan wines. Peter visited Assisi many, many years ago when he was just 9 years old, so he was curious to return. Connie and Niels Peter were also interested in visiting, so we chose this as our second destination. Assisi is a hill town in Umbria that was founded 3,000 years ago. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to it being a rare example of continuity of a city sanctuary from its Umbrian Roman origins to the present day. In addition to being the geographic center, Assisi is also the spiritual core of the Camino di Francesco, which is a pilgrimage route following the life and teaching of Saint Francis, one of Italy's patron saints. There are 8 churches along the route, with the most visited site being the Basilica of Saint Francis, which we were lucky enough to see. This place was a must-see. We had seen numerous pictures and were determined to experience it on our own. Founded by the Etruscans more than 2,500 years ago, the clifftop village of Civita di Bagnoregio has become known as the Dying City due to isolation and progressive erosion. It is situated in the Valley of Badlands and is inhabited by only 16 people. It was nominated in 2021 to become a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to its unique geological features and the quality of its preserved architecture. At this time, it's still being considered by the World Heritage Committee. It would be an understatement to say that we were captivated by this place. It was truly a unique experience. After we said goodbye to Connie and Niels Peter, we spent the afternoon driving through the Apennines along the border of Tuscany and Umbria, stopping every few minutes to take in the beautiful views. Today our plans are to explore the Val d'Orcia, but we can't resist starting slow. It's a beautiful sunny day, perfect for a lazy breakfast and flying the drone for a little bit. Val d'Orcia is filled with quintessential Tuscan vistas, gently rolling hills, vineyards, cypresses, medieval hilltop towns, castles, and rural houses. Since 2004, this valley has been a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to the perfect combination of art, landscape, geographical space, and ecosystem. We had lunch in the 1,000-year-old hilltop village of Castiglione d'Orcia, and then ended up in Pienza, where we were blown away by the sunset and an authentic Tuscan steak dinner, which was good to the last bite. We were really excited to see San Gimignano. This is a medieval city and is known for the preservation of its medieval tower houses, which were built to express the power of rich families. Back in the day, there were 72 towers, some as high as 50 meters. Today, there are 14 that remain, including Torre Grossa, which is 54 meters. In 1990, the historic center of San Gimignano became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Unfortunately, when we arrived, so did 3 busloads of tour groups. It was still fun to see, but we cut our stay short and headed for a tiny walled castle called Monteriggioni. We arrived here towards the end of the day, and after wandering around for a bit, found a little restaurant and had a fabulous meal of ossobuco. On this day, it really rained. We consoled ourselves by visiting nearby Baracci Winery and enjoying a three-course meal in their Michelin star restaurant, Il Falconiere. This was a jam-packed day. Firenze was close to an hour-and-a-half drive from Cortona, and we set out early, for us, to make the most of it. The city was very busy compared to what we had experienced so far, and it felt a little overwhelming. Our first stop was the Duomo, where we got to see Brunelleschi's famous dome. The Last Judgment fresco inside the dome was amazing to see. 700 figures on 3,600 square meters of surface. The rest of the interior was quite plain, with some of the more special things behind scaffolding for restoration. The exterior, however, was an incredible tapestry of geometric patterns made completely of white, green, and red marble from nearby quarries. The trek up the 400 steps of the bell tower was totally worth it for a close-up of the dome and a beautiful view of the surrounding city. From the Duomo, we wandered towards the Piazza della Signoria and saw a copy of Michelangelo's David outside of Palazzo Vecchio. Then we headed through the Uffizi Gallery courtyard to Ponte Vecchio. After enjoying a spritz on the River Arno, we made our way back to the car and headed up to Piazza Michelangelo for an epic sunset. It was a super fun day, but we were whipped. Siena was the last on our list of must-sees in Tuscany. The day started out grey and rainy, but eventually cleared and became beautiful and sunny. Given the weather, we decided to visit the cathedral first. The Siena Cathedral is considered to be one of the most interesting cathedrals to visit in all of Italy. It is made of black and white marble, representing the symbolic colors of Siena, which can be linked to the black and white horses ridden by the city's founders. The entire floor is an incredibly intricate marble mosaic full of storytelling from the ancient world. When we entered the cathedral, it literally took our breath away. We have never before been moved in this way by anything so incredible and beautiful. After catching our breath on a rooftop lookout, we headed back to Siena's very notable central square, the Piazza del Campo. It is shell-shaped and slopes down towards the bell tower next to Town Hall, and people are often found lounging as if on a beach. It is regarded as one of Europe's greatest medieval squares and considered one of the most beautiful squares in the world. It is no surprise that it has been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We stopped for a coffee and a baba o rum and enjoyed the campo while the sun went down. Conditions were favorable, so we were able to fly the drone and get some beautiful evening shots before heading back to Cortona. Today we say goodbye to Cortona. It was such a unique experience calling this place home. We learned how to live like a local, and we met some really nice people, including our host Vanna and Giancarlo the woodworker. We had an amazing time here and won't soon forget it. Now we are off to Cinque Terre with a lunch stop in Lucca. Lucca is one of the best preserved medieval cities in Italy and also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. A highlight of our visit was a trip up to the top of Torre Ginici. This tower is 45 meters tall and features a garden with 7 oak trees on top. This was a very unique experience. Welcome to Cinque Terre. We are in Manarola, one of the 5 colorful villages on the rugged Ligurian coast of the Italian Riviera. We will be here for the next 3 days and can't wait to explore. Cinque Terre is a UNESCO World Heritage Site that is known for its stone-walled terraces that have been developed over centuries for the growing of grapes and olives. Some of the terraces are up to 2 kilometers long and they rise up to 400 meters above sea level. In order to prevent landslides, maintenance of the terraces is critically important. It's a beautiful sunny day today, so we are hitting the slopes to do some exploring. As we head down to the waterfront, we are in love with the narrow, winding streets called Karugi that are crowded with people and boats. We are on our way to catch a ferry to Vernaza, but first we must purchase some grappa. Vernaza was founded more than 1,000 years ago, and its medieval castle was built in the mid-1500s to protect the village from pirates. The terraces surrounding Vernaza are filled with olive groves, which are said to produce some of the finest olive oil in the country. We trekked to the highest point in the village for some lunch and, of course, a spritz. Today was Peter's birthday, and he celebrated with a well-earned day of rest and a virtual visit from Sophie, Thomas, and Esser in Denmark. I spent the day climbing the terraces and witnessed firsthand some of the ongoing restoration work. The day ended with a special dinner out on a beautiful terrace overlooking the village. Today, we say goodbye to Cinque Terre. It has been an unforgettable experience and for sure one of the highlights of our trip. As we start our drive through the Maritime Alps, we pass by Corniglia, high above the ocean. We are looking forward to a lunch stop in Portofino on our way to Milano. Portofino is the most famous little harbor in the world and one of the most popular resort towns on the Italian Riviera. It is a magical place surrounded by colorful houses, lush vegetation, and is home to just over 500 permanent residents. Peter sailed into this harbor many years ago and knew it was a place that deserved our attention. By early evening, we arrived in Milano. After returning our car, we celebrated with a glass of wine and some charcuterie in our new home. We had 4 days at the end of our trip to explore Milano. On our first day, we went to the train station to get a multi-day transit pass before heading to the historic center. We arrived by metro, and as we exited the station, we came face to face with the stunning facade of the Duomo. This is Italy's largest church and one of the largest in the world. It is one of Europe's greatest architectural and cultural landmarks and is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Right next to the Duomo was the incredible Gallery Vittorio Emanuele. This is the most famous shopping gallery in Italy and is one of the greatest examples of iron architecture in Europe. We walked through the Galleria and stopped by the Alessi store to drool before having a coffee at Lavazza's flagship store. This day was dedicated to the Duomo. We purchased tickets to go up on the roof of the cathedral, which was a very exciting and unusual thing to be able to do. There were 2 levels of terraces located at 31 and 45 meters above the city. On the first level, we wandered around the perimeter and through the flying buttresses. A steep stair took us to the central terrace, where we were surrounded by spires and a spectacular view. The experience of the terraces is described as a walk through an impressive stone forest. There were over 3,400 statues, 150 gargoyles, 96 giants, and 410 corbels for statues of saints and martyrs. After finishing our tour of the interior, we headed to the Aperol Terrazza for some lunch and a spritz. This place was super fun and had a great view of the Duomo. After lunch, we visited the Triennale Museum of Italian Design and enjoyed an exhibit dedicated to the life of Alessandro Mendini. Mendini was one of the main innovators of Italian design in the 1980s and had a long association with Alessi, an iconic Italian design company founded in 1921. Today we finally saw the sun, so we hopped on the tram and headed to the Navigli district. These historic canals used to be used for irrigation and also to transport people and goods. Now it is a trendy, lively neighborhood full of restaurants and shops and art galleries. On our way to the Porta Nuova district to see Bosco Verticale, we couldn't help stopping by the Duomo one more time to take some photos in the sun. Bosco Verticale, or vertical forest, are 2 residential towers that are covered in an amount of vegetation that is equivalent to 30,000 square meters of woodland. After we saw these buildings, we had an illy coffee and enjoyed some other fun things this neighborhood had to offer. Our last full day in Milano was gray and rainy again. We visited the National Science and Technology Museum to see some Leonardo da Vinci, and then cheered ourselves up with a fabulous meal of ossobuco. Our charming host Emilio really made our day. Today we said goodbye to Italy. It was an incredible expedition, and we are so grateful to have been able to do this trip. Arrivederci e grazie, Italy. We hope to be able to see you again one day.